Ideally, human beings expect an explanation when they ask the whys, the hows, and all those questions about just generally lives happening. It, however, might not be the case when it comes to people who live with disabilities. By the way, people living with disabilities don't owe you an explanation. And this could be the reason as to why. Number one, most of human beings who happen to have disabilities actually don't have a whole story as to what happened. Statistics indicate that when you look at human beings who are struggling with a disability or two, a good portion of them don't have a whole story as to what happened. Take an example of victims of the bomb blast that happened in Nairobi in 1998. A good portion of them, a few that I actually personally know, don't have a whole story of what happened. Some of them still are struggling with having lost a good portion of their hearing ability, and they just don't know how to put an explanation to that. Someone was in a public vehicle heading home or coming into town, and in the next few minutes they had a blast. Then the next time they're going to realize that they're still alive or going to ask what's going on is probably 2-3 days after they have been in hospital. So when you ask them, by the way, how did you lose your hearing ability? It's like they don't know. And sometimes it can easily be misunderstood, like them being rude when someone tells you they don't know. But truth be told, most of the time actually they don't. So don't think a PWD owes you an explanation as to what happened to them, because one, they probably don't have a whole story. The second reason as really why some people who live with disabilities don't actually know what's going on or really don't owe you an explanation is some of them are still very bitter, or the journey or the experience is still very raw, that they are better off not talking about it because it's like reliving it over and over again. Say, for example, a victim of a rogue doctor who had just gone for medication and they ended up actually being messed up more because it was a rogue or a quack doctor. You see, every time you ask such a person, what happened, for example, to your sight? What happens to your eyes? What happened to your, it's like you're making me relive the pain all over again. And you see, maybe I don't want to do that. So it's better off when you don't ask me about my disability and what happened, because I'm still also struggling with the fresh pain. And the last thing I want to do is to relive the story over and over again. The third reason as to why really like persons living with disabilities don't owe you or don't like talking about it is because some of them have previously been misunderstood in their explanation of what happened. So like they would rather not talk about it again. Say, for example, a lady who ended up, say, for example, acquiring a disability through her childbirth, for instance, and say, for example, now she can't walk properly, or now she has to walk with an assistance or something like that. You see, depending on probably the experience before, maybe some people have misunderstood her to be being rude when she was trying to explain, because probably in the course of her trying to explain what happened, she breaks down, she cries hysterically, and so on. So people have misunderstood her to be either easily weepy, to be either easily emotional whenever she talks about it. So she's better off actually like just not talking about it. So again, depending with their previous experiences, some of them would rather not relive the experiences because they previously have been misunderstood. And the last thing I might want to mention still on this issue of why some PWDs don't like to talk about their disabilities is a good portion of them are yet to get justice for the disabilities that befell them. And it even hurts more when probably the offenders or the causes or the people who caused their disability are out there walking freely. Take an example of something like rogue drivers, matatu drivers in the case of my country and my society here, the public transport matatus in the cities and so on. Take an example of a rogue driver who actually like drove the vehicle into a ditch that caused, you know, injuries and disabilities. And, you know, a good number of them actually have gotten away. So here you are, having lost your arm, having lost your sight, having lost your leg, and every time you try to make your way to a vehicle or to town, you actually see this rogue driver who caused you the disability walking freely, still driving the vehicle around when you are here stuck with your disability, and probably you have tried to seek for justice and no one is there to hear you. So it's like, it hurts when you are still trying to seek for justice but nothing is coming forth when the offenders are freely walking around. It makes you not want to talk about it at times. Alright guys, I hope that's also helpful, and it just helps us understand that sometimes when people around us who have disabilities happen to want to be closed up, happen to want to avoid talking about their disabilities, that we don't misinterpret that for them being rude or for them being antisocial. It's just probably what they are going through and the experiences that is revolving around the disability that they have. Thanks for watching. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and drop me that experience again. I would love to know your take. Like, have you been in a situation where you probably misunderstood a PWD, or you thought you really actually expected an explanation for their state or for their situation and you did not? Or are you probably one of them? Are you someone who is living with a disability, and what's your experience with society in terms of them wanting to know what's going on with your life, and especially about your disability?